Hello and welcome to Click, Brand and Beyond podcast. I'm Nisha Prakash.
And I'm Anup Guru.
At Click, Brand and Beyond, we break down marketing and brand building into easily digestible nuggets for business founders. We teach you how to use the latest technology and trends to grow your business. Let's get started.
Anisha,
Hi, Anoop.
so I was thinking about social media, right? And I realized something. Social media is not social anymore. It's just media in the sense you put things up, people consume it. There's rarely any interaction as such, and there's a top of mind recall. People remember when you put something up, and you have to be very consistent. And I was thinking, how can a small business leverage social media?
Well, that's very interesting, Anoop, because yes, you are right. Social media is no longer social, but media. So what I have also realized is what happens really is that people, and especially young businesses, three things. They have very limited budget, they have time constraint, and they also have lack of expertise. So these are three problems that I can think of. I mean, there are many otherwise, but let's just talk. Let's just talk about unpack each one of them. First and foremost thing that I bring on the table to discuss is the time constraint. The keeping up with the changing social trends, algorithms, and everything else that happens on social media. It is very difficult to maintain a full time focus on social media. It actually is a full time job, and most of the young businesses struggle with lack of talent there, and the time. The founders or the people who are in charge of marketing team or marketers themselves, they do not have so much of time on their hand to be able to just sit on the social media. Young people who are sitting on the social media, they do not have the expertise or the experience. They may have the technical know-how, but how to actually build a marketing campaign is something that they acutely lack. So that is a very big thing there. There's a a clear lack of expertise. And then the budget, the money, it's always short. Facebook and Instagram are becoming big guzzlers of marketing expenditures, and most of the young businesses lack this kind of money. So these are the three things that I can think of. But what is also very important is to have that technical expertise. Social media is not just creativity and building a video, but the technical know-how and understanding of any media is important.
Oh
What do
yeah, I
you
mean,
think, Anu?
I think
Yeah,
I think yes, it's see at the end of the day, as I was saying, social media is no longer social; it's purely media. So media
right.
production has always required technical expertise, right? Whether you were shooting an ad for television or doing a voice advertising for radio in the older days, or
Right.
even newspaper ads, right?
Yeah, yeah,
There was
absolutely.
technology and technical expertise required to do a lot of this stuff. But I believe in today's time, thanks to the smartphone in everybody's hand, it's not a challenge. Equipment is not a challenge until and unless you want to go for a very high-end production. You have everything in your hand, in
That's
your pockets.
right.
At the same time, people get stuck on the technical aspect because it's easy to criticize. I don't have the technical, assets to do a good job of it, etc. Not necessary, right? I believe technology is required after you scale up a little bit. You're a small business, so acting like a small business makes a lot of sense. Instead of trying to act like a big studio where you are trying to have an entire production set up with you and say that, oh, you know what, it is going to cost a lot of money, therefore I'm not going to do it. Instead, think
Right.
think the reverse. What do you have in your hand? Everybody has a smartphone with a camera, a decent enough camera. Pretty much everybody has that. You have natural lighting. You have a fairly good mic in the phone itself, or you can get one of those cheap mics too, which works fairly well. That's for video, right? And I feel video is the cutting edge, right? Video is the most technical of everything that you can do. And if you can solve for a video, then everything else becomes substantially easier, I feel.
True.
Does that mean that businesses should invest in video alone, or they all should invest in video? Not necessary. We'll look at it a little. in a little bit of time. But I feel that, more than just the technology part, which is the simpler part, is the time and the resource constraints that hurt small businesses, or that is the reason small businesses avoid getting into
Yeah,
social media.
social media. And because of these constraints, which they fail to realize, they have burned their hands, and it's very off-putting for them to come back to it. It's very difficult to convince them to come back to social media. Oh no, no, we did that once, kind of statement. Which which actually brings me to the next part of this discussion, which is how are small businesses impacted? And what happens when there is a lack of social media presence? What happens to their brand awareness and the customer engagement? I mean, whatever we may say, end of the day, their entire sales that they expect to happen should happen through their social media, but it does not happen like that, Anup. So what I have seen is that rather than using the platform as a channel to enhance, they end up getting their vanity matrix from the social media, which does not help the business at all. They may have 1,000 followers, but how many people are actually buying? So audience is on social media, but is their customer on social media? And they need to differentiate between their audience and their customers. Their audience might like their content, but how many of them are actually converting into sales? Now that also remains a question, and that is where again the traditional principle of marketing and traditional principle of sales come into function. So that is one thing most of the businesses need to be aware of. Um, what do you think could be the missed opportunities for building social and emotional connection with the target audience? How do you think businesses are missing out on that?
I think a couple of things. Right? One is social media being media, which means a lot more importance should be given to vanity metrics. Which Nisha, you said, I mean, they always look at vanity metrics and not look at the sales. Yes, of course, sales matter, but we have to realize three things. Number one, because people are consuming and not engaging, vanity metrics become important. But you can dig deeper. Vanity metrics, okay, how many likes, how many views, but who viewed it? You also get a demographic breakdown of most things, right? If it's a post on LinkedIn, or if it's a video on YouTube, these platforms do give you some amount of analytics, broadly saying that, okay, this particular video was viewed mostly by people who are 35 to 45 years old, etc. Right? Are they your demography? If yes, great, you're hitting the right target. And they have viewed, right? Thousands of them have viewed, some have liked, some have, very rarely they comment, some have commented. But now let's unpack it further, right? What has happened? Let's say 5,000 people have seen that video. Now somebody will say, okay, 5,000 video people have seen the video, so what? So they remember your brand, they know your brand, they will associate, let us say, socks. You are selling socks, right? And they will associate socks with your brand. They will say, you know what, that brand that sells colorful socks, very, very beautiful, very nice prints. That's how they will remember. They may not remember the name. Why they will not remember the name? Because you have created an awareness in the customer's mind, but the imprint of your name, the brand has not happened yet. And that is because there's no emotional connection. So you have to keep driving these messages out there, right? Funny, humorous, energetic, whatever your brand values, voice, positioning is. You have to focus on that and keep driving the message. Does social media lead to sales? That is point number two. Yes, it does. But we have to realize that people are not always in the mood to purchase things, right? Less than 5% of the people who see what you're putting out there are interested in purchasing. That does not mean that they're going to purchase from you. That is a point number three. Be aware there's competition. So, because there is competition, you being the top most uh, choice for me takes time. I may try you out if it is, let's say, a fairly economical product or something where I will not lose a lot of money, etc. But if it is an expensive product of any kind, I will hesitate. That is where a lot of social goodwill has to be built in. The more expensive your product, the more seasonal your product, the longer it will take for people to decide to work with you. You can't just put out two videos out there and say nothing happened and fold it up. No, not at all. So three things that drive social media behavior, and you have to be aware of all three. Number one, are you reaching the right audience? Even with the vanity metrics, you can test that. Number two, 5% of the audience is willing to buy. Number three, for somebody to buy from you, there has to be an emotional connect and a brand recall. The longer it takes for somebody to make a purchase decision, the reason is because it's expensive or there's too much risk. So remove the risk, increase social validation out there, and purchases will increase. That's my 2 cents on that, Nisha.
No, great insights, Anup. I really appreciate. And just to recap, uh, what you have said here, and on also coming back to the emotional connect part. So, as I said, that is where the lack of talent just stands out. People forget that there are certain traditional principles of building a story and a brand story as such. They have to follow a hero's journey, they have to follow a certain path, and they forget that. Most of the young people are just struggling to keep up with the social trends, they are struggling to keep up with the algorithms, they are pushing their content out. It does connect, but is it translating into sales? And especially if it's an e-commerce company, especially if it's a smaller brand, younger brand who do not have deep pockets. Now that is where a lot of problem also happens. But coming back to this discussion again, can you share some real world example? Can you think of a business who is struggling? Can you bring a case study on this in this discussion?
Yeah, I think every single small business is struggling. If you can't remember the business's name, they are struggling to do anything on social media. I mean, it could be even my business or your business or anybody's business, right? Having social media presence is such an overwhelming thing for many people. They don't do much, they don't do anything at all. So if you can't see the brand on social media being active there, then they are struggling. They have other priorities. Of course, and nothing wrong in that. Right? You have to
Yeah,
prioritize certain things in your business to grow, to survive, sometimes just to sustain yourself. Social media can become afterthought, right? Let us do lead generation with ads, or let us buy
yeah,
some lists and just make phone calls and sell something, right? That becomes the
right.
easiest thing to do, but it's not sustainable in the long term. Something like building your media channels, building that brand, uh, awareness as well as recall takes time, but it also pays off in the longer run. So yeah, I mean, it's important, but I do believe every business struggles with it.
Yeah, and I also would like to talk about the lack of patience on the part of most of the businesses. They face one or two failure and then they give up. They do not engage in a long game, a longer game. And building a brand on this digital platform, and especially these days in the virtual world, is a very long run, long sum game because and often full of failures because people are experimenting till they figure out what works for them, then till they find their sweet spot. Which brings me to the next part of this episode, which is what kind of actionable tips would you suggest for small businesses? How can they start incorporating social media into brand and storytelling?
I think the first and the foremost thing every small business has to understand is they don't have to do everything, and they don't have to be present on all channels.
Valid point. Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
true.
One of the things is, oh, do Instagram, do Facebook, do LinkedIn, do YouTube videos, do blog articles, do SEO optimization, then also do influencer marketing. No,
Yes. No, and I think this is because of the agencies. They just kind of misguide them, instead of being authentic and honest and saying, like, let's just do this, with this will work for you. They suggest everything on the platter. Yeah,
it's like
please go
going to
on.
a hair salon and asking, do I need a haircut? Of course you need a haircut. Why are you even asking? So agencies drive the agenda. You're right. And how do you evaluate then? The evaluation is very simple. What type of product are you selling? Are you selling something which is visually appealing, like a very colorful piece of clothing or shoes, etc.? Then yes, you need to showcase that, right, in photographs at least. Is it an idea, a concept that is fairly intangible? Then you need to make a video, right? Have a whiteboard maybe, or maybe you're selling socks, right? Socks is a boring product. Having photos of socks does not really make any sense. but you are selling very, very colorful, energetic patterns, etc., right? Then you need to have some young people dancing around in socks, right? Or socks being worn in awkward situation and in awkward places being a fun brand. That is a brand voice. The whole idea being understand what you're selling and what is the best medium to showcase that. Is it photographs? Is it talking about it? Is it writing? Is it videos? Then select a platform. Which platform? The platform can be something as simple as Instagram. It could be something where your customers are there, right? If you are selling to a very young crowd, then TikTok, Instagram, etc. makes a lot of sense. Selecting the platform becomes important, selecting the medium becomes important, and now that you have selected it, just create content. Okay, if it is blog articles that will take you forward, then write every day. If it is photographs that will take you forward, then spend an hour every day doing photography of your products, or whatever you do. If it's explaining things on a whiteboard, then make more and more and more whiteboard videos, or take photographs of the whiteboard and then write about it, right? So decide what one medium and one channel, one platform that you want to work with. Don't try to do it for everything, right? It doesn't, I mean, it will just fail. The attempt itself will fail. Start there. Second, try to use AI. I know as soon as I say AI, people say, oh no, I don't know how. Nothing something as simple as ChatGPT can help you create a write up, create a script for a video, create the first draft of a blog post, generate an image for you on which you can do some overlay, etc. So use AI and other technology tools as much as possible for that particular medium, that particular channel. Do not diversify into other channels at all. Third, what you can also do is, let's say it's an image, right? And you are going to put that image on Instagram. You can also put that image on Pinterest. You can also put that image on LinkedIn, right? You're not putting the effort again and again. You create it once for one channel, but you repurpose it across multiple channels. Again, lower your
Yeah,
effort. Do not try to build for every single channel. It will completely fail and completely backfire. Focus on one
right.
channel, one media type, and then repurpose the content. And use AI. That's my that's my recommendation. But yeah, I mean, having said all that, you still need to be very consistent in your brand messaging and visual elements. Nisha, what do you think? How can people do that?
Absolutely, Anup. So this is where most of the businesses again lack because they have not put in enough thought, and they lack a consistent brand language. The kind of colors that they should use, the kind of fonts that they should use, the kind of storytelling, the look and the feel of all their social media. It should appear as if all of them are living in the same universe, but oftentimes it does not. Again, you know, tools like Canva or tools like Trello or even so many other things, they just, they would take a template and they would try to put in their things and, change a thing here and there. And hence the inconsistent brand voice and the brand look and feel. I think people should be very aware of the kind of look that they want to portray, and they should experiment. They should do spend a lot of time on the drawing board in discussions, doing research, creating mood boards, etc., a vision board perhaps, to be able to come to a consistent look and feel. However, what is also important is being consistent in publishing the content, being consistent in publishing their distributing on whichever channel they choose to distribute. Oftentimes with young businesses or smaller businesses, consistency is also the key. One thing I would like to also bring here is that I have seen a lot of e-commerce stores or a lot of young businesses who go for visual medium. They do well, but if it is a long format content like writing blogs or articles or distributing it in so many other channels, they are not as consistent, and that kind of kills the overall impact for that brand. That is one thing. The quality also matters. They will outsource their blog writing or article writing to a third party agency most of the time, and it absolutely lacks the voice of the brand. That has to be very carefully cultivated. Most of the young businesses don't do that, which is a pity because they're spending that resource, they're spending that money, they're spending that time. But if the quality is not there, then what's the point? And I what comes to my mind is a particular brand for ethnic fashion, ethnic Indian wear, and I have seen this brand grow from zero to almost 1 CR, value of e-commerce business in 2 years' time. And they only are on Instagram and Facebook, but their consistency, the design language, the brand look and feel has not been diluted. It has actually been very carefully cultivated by the founder. And it is one of the success story that I'm really proud of because that founder also comes from the same university that I went. She was a few years my junior. She has done a fabulous job, a single-handedly. Now she has a good team of almost like 10 or 12 people, but when she started, she was all alone by herself, and she has built this platform up to this point all by herself, just by being consistent, by understanding her unique offering, her unique voice, and her uniqueness, which is all about her brand. So one wonderful example that. And Anup, do you have any example that you would want to talk about? I remember you were telling me about this thing called Scubu or Bummer or.
Yeah, Nisha, both of them, in fact. Kubu is a stationery brand I encountered on Instagram through their ads, then went and purchased something, and now I pretty much exclusively purchase stationery from them. Uh, Also, the other brand is Bummer, which is an undergarment brand, right? When you say
Oh,
under,
very colorful, very playful.
right? When you think undergarment, you usually think of all the body colors and black and white and reds and whatnot, right? But look at this brand. They have nice prints and they have very colorful, very energetic vibe to them. And even if you see their online presence, even their website, if you go and see, it's very, very youthful, the brand. And overall, it positions the undergarments in a very, very different light altogether. Right? And the brand is very unique in that sense. Really loved it. Again, encountered them on Instagram, I think, and then that's when I got interested in something like this because that remains with you, right? The colorful, the youthful take, the energetic take remains with you, and they have done it well. There are hundreds of such brands. In fact, every day you encounter new brands on Instagram and on Facebook, and these are some examples. Maybe we'll explore some of them at a later point of time.
No, these are great examples, Anup. I love both the brands. You have introduced me to Scubu, so I love, buying my dopamine rushes, buying stationaries. I absolutely love Scubu.
Oh, wow. All right. Sorry to add to your addiction, but then I think there are a lot of examples, and I'm sure our listeners will also have a bunch of examples that they can bring.
Right.
So let me quickly recap what happened in this episode. And I would rather recommend. I would say I recommend this, right? Pick one platform, pick one medium that you're comfortable with, and get going. Don't
Very
stop.
important. Yeah.
Monitor the vanity metrics. Yes, if it is growing, more people are watching, more people are listening, more people are seeing, then yes, you're doing the right thing. Wait, the results will come.
Great. So, one thing that I would like to add, the last thing is that start experimenting with media, social media. Don't be shy. The brand story will emerge, the efforts will show, and it will be a journey of a lifetime. The thrill, the failures, embrace everything, and just go on with it.
Great episode. Thank you, Nisha.
Thank you, Anu. And that is it for this episode. I'm Nisha Prakash. You can find me at LinkedIn and my website nishaprakash.com.
And I'm Anup Kurup. You can find me at LinkedIn and my website, anupkurup.com. We will see you in the next exciting episode of Click, Brand, and Beyond.